Okay, so let's talk about card investing or just investing in general. I get on here a lot and usually see me talking about like promotions or new things at the store, but I want to talk about investing today. Okay, so where do I start? I want to basically open up some knowledge bases here about what it is to invest in cards or just investing in general. To start with, a lot of people that get into investing into cards or anything investment portfolio wise, they usually don't have an exit strategy, and so they get into it and then they don't watch how the markets run according to an exit strategy. And so that affects the way you invest into things. For instance, when I buy vintage cards like Pokemon cards or anything like that, typically I have a longer term investment strategy and I'm not really looking to flip the card immediately. There's a process. I automatically am not going to take cards in that are in really bad condition, because in the long term, if I try to grade it, it's going to grade out really low, and low grading cards have a high population rate. So, um, you know, talking about population rate. So, if you are grading with like PSA or any grading company for that matter, like Beckett or CGC, there's always going to be like a population rate of how many of those cards are out there on the market. So, if you have like a grade 6, grade 7, grade 8 Charizard, you'll look on the PSA's population chart or pop chart, and it will actually tell you how many of those are out there on the market in each grade. And so you can tell by how many cards are out there on the market. It directly correlates to the worth on the market as well. So if there's more supply and the demand is high, that still doesn't mean that the card is going to be really high as far as pricing. It's usually when the demand is high and the population is low, and that's where the price increases on the card, right? Because it becomes more valuable. There's less out there on the market. For instance, if you have a grade 8 Charizard from base set 1, your population rate could be, I don't know, let's say 100 cards in the grade 8, but the grade 6 is going to have 1,000 cards, for instance. So not only is the grade 8 going to be worth more, you're going to see a big price difference in the card itself as it goes through the grades, just because of population rate and the grade number. So that's just like card grading, but like having an exit strategy is really important, because you're buying a card typically, and if you're buying vintage, that's going to be pretty higher in price than a modern set. So if you don't know how that card's been moving or where it could move, and that takes education and experience. Trading cards, of course, you're going to make mistakes along the way, but it's getting into it and being well vetted and knowing how to invest in a card that you're going to have to hold on for a long period of time. And then and there's a lot of tools to use, right? You have like pricecharting.com, you have Card Ladder, all these different companies that use pricing systems to check to see where the popularity of the card is, or how fast it's selling, which is called sell-through rate. I'm very keen on that. Before I take cards in, I want to make sure that the sell-through rate is not too slow, especially if it's not a long-term hold like a vintage card and it's a modern card. I'm going to be more harsher on how fast it moves, and I gauge that on whether I want to take it in. I just don't take in any cards. So it's kind of moving on to the modern sets. Modern sets actually have a high volatility, and that means that the prices are all over the place. For instance, you've seen the Drowsy card shoot up in price. A lot of the cards that new release will shoot up in price before even the set comes out physically, and people get their hands on the actual card. And so with that, you get a lot of volatility, which means that they may be really, really crazy high because of anticipation or FOMO, fear of missing out on getting the card, that a lot of people put the card out on the marketplace for a very high price. And a lot of these people aren't real like pokey investors. A lot of them are scalpers that go to the stores and buy up all the boxes, pull all the boxes, hope they get a hit, and basically sell the card to you if they get a hit. So uh, Sometimes you get really, really inflated prices. That's not the only people who are inflating prices. There's also people who manipulate prices in this marketplace for cards, especially with Pokemon. Um, I, I noticed that it's really the same as if you were like buying stocks, for instance. And the way it works is that if you have a number of people buying up all the stock, and then they pump it up, pump it up, pump it up. Um, they will sometimes dump the stock. And so that makes the stock worth less because they put more out on the market. So just like population rate in a graded card, if there's more out there on the market, the value is less. So if people are dumping their cards out on the market, that is typically what's going to get the price to go down. So when you see a card set first come out, you're going to see those hits way up there, but then a few weeks later, you're going to see them drop off. You saw this with the Prismatic Evolution set, with the Umbreon going way, way up there. And then now you're seeing prices drop really hard. I think we're sitting around 1,300 or so on that card now. And I'm not really sure where it started at, but it definitely was way over $2,000 raw. So that card had a lot of volatility. So with that being said, when you're investing in singles, and you're buying these sets or I'm sorry, these singles that from these hot sets, I would refrain from trying to buy things as soon as they come out. You want to see where the market settles at. It's like a lot of dust being kicked up prior to the set releasing, and then you want to wait till the dust settles so you can see how price changes move. Then they're going to be a lot more subtle. We also saw the same thing with the Surging Sparks Pikachu. I even fell into this because I felt like the hit rate was so harsh on that Pikachu. Um, I grabbed it at a market price. And it wasn't bad. Even it was a little over $500, but the card has dropped to 350 now. And so I did have it graded, and it did drop during my grading process. So that even hurt a lot more. Sometimes you'll send your card out to be graded and find out that the grade either comes back short of a 10, and then you're back at raw card price, which is weird because raw card prices sometimes can be a 9, and then now you're in the hole on the card and you got to hold on for it for a long period of time until the market hopefully changes for it, or you're just stuck with it and it's in your PC, or you're going to dump it and it's going to have a loss on the sale. So it happens, right? Even the most educated investors take losses. It's just the more educated you are with investing in cards, in anything in general, you're going to have a lot less mistakes, but you're going to have some mistakes, right? You're human, so it happens. Other things that we should really pay attention to in the card investment is how you're attaining those cards. So if we're talking about cards, we're might be ripping boxes. We might be or booster boxes, which is one of the most expensive things to buy because they have guaranteed hits in them. You might be ripping out of elite trainer boxes, which are even harder to get packs out of, and you know obviously those methods are a little bit of a gamble, and then that could be one of your more expensive ways to get the card. So obviously if you're opening a $160 booster box that's given you get it at MSRP, what if you spend 160 bucks and don't get the chase? What if you spend that on two boxes and don't get the chase? Now we have to start looking at acquisition cost, or AC. How much does it cost to get the card that you are chasing? And if you're counting that on booster boxes, then your acquisition cost is going to be a lot higher than buying it in a single form, right? And so I know some people don't have patience and they rather rip and get that, or you're ripping just because you want to do a master set and you want all the bulk, or you have some reason to rip, and then there's people who just want to rip because it gets the dopamine hit. I feel it. Cool. I rip sometimes too. But I do love buying it in a single format, single card format, which I'm seeing a lot of the market doing now is actually not trying to chase so much the booster box to rip, but sometimes keep those booster boxes sealed and then go buy the single card themselves. It tends to be a better long-term investment. So keeping that acquisition cost low is key. This is something that us business owners do. If you're in a service business, you might call it CAC, which is customer acquisition cost. And we're talking about cards here. So we're just talking acquisition costs. So definitely watch that. And maybe you come up with another way to get your card. Maybe you trade for it. Maybe you trade in your old collection to go chase something else, and that's always fun, right? I'm not knocking anybody that likes to do any of those methods. It's just those are different methods of how people get their chase card. Whether you like to do that on whatnot pools or whatnot. Um, but yeah, it's just different ways. But definitely knowing why you're going into that investment, and also knowing how you're going to come out of that investment based on some educative knowledge and some experience in investing in cards. But just know that the same principles that live here in the Pokemon card world or sports card world do exist in other worlds of investments. There's principles, like I said, one of those principles is exit strategy. The other one is definitely your acquisition costs, and like how much is it costing you to acquire the collectible. Do you want to watch that? Because if you want to flip it later, you want to make sure you make some margin, right? This is one of the ways I see collectors not ever making money, and they're just kind of spinning in circles. I am a collector that loves to make money. Obviously, I own a shop. So I definitely want to be on both sides because I collect, but I'm also a very smart investor and I don't just collect anything. I also, for the shop, don't just buy any card. Typically, I'm chasing very hard to find cards that are at a premium, and I'll pay around 70%, sometimes 60% if they're not in great condition. Because, like I said, I'm trying to lower my acquisition cost. And if I'm looking to flip it in the future, especially if you're selling on tcgplayer.com or any website that really focuses on the mint condition of it or the light played or moderately played, and you need to know what arena you're selling in, what rules that they require. Maybe eBay doesn't care as much, but like TCG Player does. If you send a card to a person and you said it was mint, um, they're going to be pretty upset at you if they get it back and it's not mint. Um, and so, learning how to acquire, move with the card, get to your next part of your collection, have a path, like really, take time to write down what you want to do with your cards and which ones you're willing to let go and why, and how much money you're going to make, and what would it do if you let it go? Can you go buy another collection with that, or can you trade that in and get what you've really been chasing? Have some kind of strategy. Don't just go into Pokemon or sports card trading just grabbing cards and hoping, because that's not really a smart way to invest if you want to be a smart investor. So that's all I wanted to talk about today. I will make more videos like this because I am a awesome business owner. I'm just going to pat myself on the back. I've been doing business for over 10 years, and I don't just run a retail store for cards and collectibles. I am heavy in tech, and I come from the tech industry. And so everything you see, that my business is running off of is definitely driven by a lot of my tech skills. So I will be bringing more knowledge, especially how to run this kind of stuff, how to sell, marketplaces to sell at, and how to make money in the future videos. So stick with me, and I love the support, and I'll see y'all next time.